Hello and welcome to tonight's video. Just getting everything set up, everything in place so I can get ready and start sculpting. Just gonna bring this up on my phone so I can monitor the chat. Looks like I've got a good view of my desk here. Make sure my light and everything's okay. Move my desk up just a little bit. Hi, Brandy. I think you're going to like tonight's stream, not implying you don't like the other ones. Alice down the rabbit hole. Hi, Alice. So I'm trying something a little bit different for me. I do some sculpted pictures, and I've done shadow boxes, and I've done magnets, and I've done wall art that's been bigger. But I kind of want to do some like faces or characters that are used for wall art, but they still have that sculpted look. Kind of, think about like how some people hang masks on the wall, but I'm not going to do them as masks. I'll do them as full faces, and they won't be life size. At least these won't. But I want to just try to do like a monster in the style I'm thinking in my head, and I'm thinking kind of a mix between like a zombie, a Frankenstein's monster, and something with a lot of jagged teeth, so kind of my own mix of it. Brandy says, love your shadow boxes. Thank you. I need to do more. I have quite a few empty shadow boxes. So what I'm starting with is a mixture of beige and some green. It's kind of just, I wanted this ugly flesh tone. And I want to roll out a back to it. And so I don't want to have it too thick, but I'm going to put foil on it. And even though you won't ever see it because it's hanging against the wall, I still want it to have a nice finish to the back. And later I might come up with a way to like make a wood back for them or something like that. But at the moment where I'm just messing around with kind of a test one, I'm going to try this out. And I went ahead, got a piece of paper and some cardboard so I can put it on here, and that way I can move it up around, because once it's going to be, I don't want to mess it up as I'm showing it to you guys. And this should be a good piece to do for the live stream, because you should be able to see everything I'm sculpting. At least that's the plan. I mean, I know I'll cover up some as I'm sculpting, but you know what I mean. And I point to the camera because or the chat, because that's what I'm talking to, instead of pointing up, because I'm weird. So I'm just gonna get this softened up again. I softened all this stuff up tonight, but by the time I got everything set up, I still want to just warm it up a little bit before I roll it out. And I thought it would be fun. I have a game room, my man cave or whatever, and when I originally started doing polymer clay artwork, I did artwork for that room, and I was planning on covering all the walls with different stuff, and I did several pieces for it, but I definitely didn't do everything I wanted to. So now I thought it'd be fun if I kind of get this new style how I want. I could do that and, do them as videos and share them with you guys, and then get that accomplished. So it's kind of like an unfinished business. So I'm just rolling this out so I don't have too much. I don't have an exact size in mind, other than I want to make sure I have enough clay for it. And I was meaning to start this right at 9, but I had a Terminator skull, and I was looking for it because I was going to use that as kind of a reference for placement of, the facial features. So I thought that would be just something, to use as that, because it's all proportionate, and that's some of the trickiest things with doing sculptures is the proportions. But since this is just my own little monster, I'm just going to wing it. So you'll see here I've got this little piece of metal, and It's got a hole in it. This came from a shelving unit. It was extra pieces, but I thought it would be good to put this kind of in the upper back of it. That way, if I want to hang it on a nail, the nail's going to hit this little metal. It's not a, like kind of like a washer, instead of hitting the clay, and it'll reduce the chance of it kind of cracking into the clay. So I'm just kind of hoping that strengthens it a little bit. So I'm just going to try to get it as centered as I can. And then, let's see, I think I can probably clean it out with this needle tool. Just take that little piece there, mix it in with my other. And I could probably take like a, I think it's a little farther away, but I have like a little file. And I could take the file and go in there and clean out that hole a little bit better after it's baked. But I'll get it the best I can. I went ahead and pushed this piece in because I want it flush with the back. So as I'm pushing it, it's kind of filling in that hole. But I might get some, you know, it might fill in a little bit more as I'm working with it. Because once I flip this over, I will not see it again until it's done. So now I want to build this up with foil, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to leave the foil there so that way if the nail goes into the foil. I was going to put clay on there, but it's not going to go in deep enough. So let's see here. I think this is my basic shape. And what I can do, if that foil looks noticeable from the other, like on the back side, I can even put some paint in there just to kind of cover it up. But I'll probably take a tool and kind of push that foil in some. That way I've got a nice area for a nail to go into the back. So I didn't sketch anything out for this guy. I just kind of have a general idea of what I want him to look like. I do know I want to put pieces of skin over him so I can have like some stitch work with it. I want him to be a little more serious, I guess, and maybe a little more, you know, like gory than my typical monsters. Maybe that could be my theme for Friday night, you know, live streams, because I like doing the cute stuff, but I also like the scary stuff too. I know when I was in high school, I was a huge fan of like Freddy Krueger and Hellraiser, and as for those characters, I wasn't as big a fan of Friday the 13th because I thought Jason was kind of boring. I mean, the hockey mask was cool, but to me, like the, you know, Pinhead from Hellraiser, I mean, he just had a really just scary look to him, just really intimidating. I mean, it's just, you know, it just looks wicked. And then Freddy with his claws on his fingers, and, you know, up to that point, Brandy says blasphemy. Don't judge. But, you know, up to that point, I was reading X-Men a lot, so I was a fan of Wolverine. And, you know, honestly, Brandy, I like Jason more now than I did back then. You know, it was one of those things where I wanted more monster out of my villains. I never got into, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know, I've always liked the Universal monsters, and I know you're a fan of them. I've always loved, like, werewolf movies, like The Howling, American Werewolf in London for sure. Like the zombie movies, Return of the Living Dead. I remember watching that one a lot. I think I had that on VHS. If anybody has any input, let me know what your favorite movie monster is, and it can be, you know, cute or scary or whatever. All right. Brandy says I like them all. This is going to be a little bit tricky until I get everything laid in place. You guys going to learn how to do this with me. I want to do some pretty deep eye sockets on them. I've got some larger ball tools. So I want to make sure those can go in deep. I don't know how this is all going to lay on here, but I can kind of fill it in afterwards. Right. I think it's definitely a good thing I'm not going for a certain character on this one, because I have a feeling I'd mess it up until I kind of learn the best way to do a sculpture like this. So I'm just going to soften up some more and kind of cover it up, and then I'll build up his facial features. Alice says, I always like Amityville Horror. Awesome. Definitely love the new Pennywise. I like the old Pennywise too. It was really well done. He's a good movie monster. Keep getting notifications on my phone, and they're blocking my view to make sure that everything's still kind of where it needs to be. Trying to think, I wanted to have a layer of red underneath, so if I did sections of like skin, then I would have that dark red underneath already. So maybe, because I was just going to do it in areas, but I'm not for sure where they're going to lay the best. So maybe I'll switch to the red. I'll have to clean up after that, but hopefully I can not get too bad. Hala says, been stuck watching zombie shows right now. I know they added a season of Fear of Walking Dead to Hulu that we haven't seen, so we're in the middle of that. I never did watch the last season of Walking Dead. I got kind of burned out on that one. I watched a lot of Zombie Nation. Is that what it's called? Z Nation? But I haven't watched all of the last season of that either. So what's your favorite zombie show, Alice? Randy says that was good for a while. Alice says, I love Z Nation, it makes me giggle. Yeah, I feel like if there was a zombie apocalypse, it'd be somewhere in between Z Nation and Walking Dead. I mean, I think it would definitely have the bleak moments, but I think there's going to be some crazy people that just do some bizarre stuff that you don't see. I mean, there's bizarre stuff in Walking Dead, but not at the same, dare I say, like redneck level that Z Nation brings. At least that's my opinion. And the last season of it on Netflix, I haven't been into as much, so that's why I hadn't watched all the other seasons. I think I don't ever marathon, but I went through them pretty quick. Yeah, this red is not very soft. I didn't want to rework it too much because I didn't want to get it all over my hands again, but Alice says, I hope not the Z tornado. I always liked when they were in the ball. Well, the zombies were in a ball rolling. I don't know what they called it. Maybe they just called it a giant zombie ball. But I know like they would have like, there's that one where they have the shooting range or whatever. I mean, like I could see people out here doing that. Alright, so let's see if this is soft enough. See, it's still going to crack, but I think it'll be okay, because like I said, I'm going to end up covering most of the red anyway. And once I get it attached on here, I do want to texture it some. Alice says, I watched The Rain on Netflix. It is good so far. Yeah, I've watched all of the first season of that, in part, like maybe 2 episodes of the second season, and I really like that one too. I thought it had a really interesting concept, especially in that first season. I've been watching a lot of foreign film or foreign shows like that if they're at least dubbed. I know a lot of purists will say, oh no, do it in subtitled, but to me, I feel like I miss a lot of what's going on if I'm reading the subtitles. I mean, a lot of those shows have incredible visuals, and you know, TV is a very, you know, visual form of storytelling. So I don't necessarily go for that logic, but all right, I'm not happy with this red at all. So I'm just getting this covered, and I'm going to do some more. I've got some more red here to get it, and I think I'll do black around here. So when I do the teeth as the black underneath. Alice says, I hate the bad dubs, lol. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I think I've gotten so used to it. No, Brandy knows this, but like, you know, I'm a huge Godzilla fan, so I've been watching badly dubbed movies for a long time, because even though the newer ones, they do a better job of dubbing them, the older ones, like the, you know, 50s, 60s, and 70s, I mean, they definitely have their issues with that, but to me, it's just something I've accepted. So you can kind of see what I did there. And that, going over that foil almost has this kind of weird brain-like texture, so it's really like that. This guy should be pretty creepy, hopefully, when I'm done. Hopefully it doesn't just look dopey. It's always a little worrisome to try something new on a live stream, because, you know, I don't know how it's going to turn out. And, you know, I like it when you guys learn with me and give me suggestions, but it's also like, I want to look the best. Try to soften this up real quick. You can see it's already crumbling off of my hands here. And this is a little smaller than what I was thinking, so like I said, for the test one it'll work, but I think when I do some more, I'm probably going to go for about that size. I'm going to need to order some more clay, and with everything going on financially, you know, with the world right now and everything, I don't really want to order too many supplies, so I'm trying to stick with what I have. So, and Brandy says, art is not perfect, that's the beauty of it. Oh, I agree, and I'm totally fine if it's not exactly what I'm going for. I just don't want to be, you know, be like, you know, oh, look at me fail. Alice says, I was just telling my hubby I like watching these lives because it shows me I'm not the only one that messes up. Brandy says don't get in your own head. Oh, I'm always in my own head. And I don't have a problem messing up as long as I can recover. And my thing is, you know, with the live stream, it's like I want to be able to recover during the stream, you know, show that triumphant finish of whatever I'm working on. Going to try to get this sectioned off. I don't want to use too much in case I need red for something else. I want to keep a little bit left. Well, I might have some other red, so I should be okay. Sorry, I'm solving my own problems here. And I'm really tempted to give him this kind of decayed nose, so I want to make sure I have some red underneath that. And once he's done, I will decide if I want to just give him some gloss coat in areas or if I want to give him like a black wash and then gloss over that. Make him about as disturbing as I can. I did want to mention, because I mentioned it on last night's live stream, that I want to do some Pokemon videos. My daughter's really into it, and I've always, you know, I'm a huge video game fan. So I was going to do a Pokemon week, and I was wanting to do that next week, but I'm not quite far enough along on that, and I don't want to stress myself out. So I think I'll wait at least a week, if not longer, for that. But that will still be coming for anybody interested in watching those. Brandy says I'm a pro black wash. Yeah, I almost like dry brushing a little bit better. I'm not. The black wash worked really well, or I did actually a brown wash with my Necronomicons. But I do like the way it makes all the details pop, and especially if you sculpt something with that in mind. Alice asked, what's a black wash? So how I do it is I water down some like black acrylic paint, and then I just cover the whole sculpture, and so it seeps into all those crevices, and then I wipe it off with a paper towel, and that way it'll go off of the, you know, with the parts that are sticking out, and so you'll have more of like kind of a stain and darkening to the areas that are deeper. And I know sometimes I've done it where I haven't watered it down, and then I'll just wipe off the extra. Alice says my fave Pokemon is Jigglypuff. Have you watched my Jigglypuff video, Alice? It doesn't show how I made it, but it shows what it looks like when it's all done. It's kind of like a quick look of it. I did it, it's a half-scale Jigglypuff out of needle felt. So I am happy with how that looks so far. I didn't have it quite enough red to cover up here, but I'll just make sure that gets covered and it doesn't have any of the skin open there. So I'm gonna clean off my hands. I'm not going anywhere. I just have some wipes here, and I'm hoping I can get it clean enough. I'm not too worried if I'm not, because a little bit of discolorization to my already messed up skin color isn't gonna hurt anything. It's the good thing about doing monsters like this. You can see how much that pigment transfers to your hands. But yeah, I was looking through different Pokemon last night to see what I wanted to do, and I've got some really good ideas. And I'm kind of just have to see what colors I have. And I'm gonna do some, like I want to do another half scale one, but it has to be somebody, within reason. That's not, outrageous at full size. And then I thought about doing like a wall hanging one. Probably do another one out of needle felt. And then maybe a couple magnets or something. So they'll vary in size and material I use for them, just to have a nice variety. Got most of it off, but I'm going to go ahead and go over them one more time, and then I'll start working on that mouth area with the black. All right, let's go ahead and fill this in with some black. So I've got a little bit right here that I'm just going to soften up. And so when I'm doing a sculpture like this, where it's not a totally 3D character, as you can see, I'm doing it all in layers. So I started with that back, built up the foil, did the first layer, and now I'm going to do the black that's going to match the same layer as the red. So then the next thing I want to do is the teeth, and then I'll layer the gums over that, and then I can do the eyes. And I thought about doing just one eye and leaving the other one as an eye socket, and then add the skin, and then the stitching, and then whatever detail I want to add on top of that. So thankfully, the black softened up really nice for me. So I'm just going to fill that in where the red isn't, just so I kind of have an even layer over that foil I put down, or fairly even, I should say. Hopefully when this guy is done, he is the stuff of nightmares. All right, and then I want to make sure that layer of skin lays how I want it to, so I'm going to fill in some of these gaps with this black clay. And depending on how I want to do the mouth on different characters, I can make this a little bit deeper, but I'm okay with this guy's teeth kind of coming out, and having a more pronounced bite. I don't know if you're familiar with like Mortal Kombat with like Baraka, where his mouth sticks out more, or Melina, characters like that. So that's kind of what I'm visualizing in my head for it. So I just have a few more spots. I'm just going to fill in some black clay. And then I think I will go ahead and get a ball tool. I just want to get, I don't want to have a big one. I want a little one. So something like this one. And I want to texture the red. And I'm just going to texture the whole thing. It's going to take a little bit extra time, but I want to make sure that's all done just in case any of it's visible when I start adding that skin. Now, if any of the areas, like if I want to add cheekbones or anything like that, I could do that with the skin layer. I'm just doing this, just kind of all random, just adding these little craters. kind of give it this really just messy, or not messy, what do I want to say? Thinking of like tenderized meat. I can tell there's a little bit of air trapped in there, so it's going to push out with this. There should be enough areas that it shouldn't have a problem with any air bubbles in it, I'm hoping. And I will texture behind this eye just in case I decide to keep it open. And these sockets are probably a little bit bigger than what I want. I could fill in some. There's not really enough space in between them. So I'll just kind of bring this out more to the side. And then I will go in and texture it. And you can see here it's kind of popped that open. And I did not save any red clay out of what I had, so I'll have to mix up some more, or soften up some more if I end up leaving that open. So I definitely want to make sure I texture where the nose would be, because I'm going to bring up the sides of that. Give it a good like zombie nose. I'm just going to do a little bit on this eye. I don't want to do it too much because I'm going to put that eye, for sure put an eyeball in there. Just keep going over it. Just adding little indentions. Almost done with this part, and then we can get to the fun of adding the skin. Oh, no. Almost forgot I have to do the teeth and the gums first. Getting ahead of myself again. Alright, so I will bring that up. Kind of slides around on there, but you can look what I have, and you can see how far it sticks out there. But I think this should work. Alright, I'm gonna clean my hands up a little bit more, and then I'll roll out some teeth. I'm gonna clean my work area a little bit too. I'll probably kind of slide this over and then do my teeth over here, just because I know I won't get this perfectly cleaned off here. All right. So he's going to have a bunch of sharp, jagged teeth. I've got a mixture here of white, translucent, and yellow. It's kind of standard for my teeth. It just kind of varies on how much yellow and stuff I mix in there and how much they're discolored. So I'm just going to soften this up a little bit. I'm going to roll it out into a snake and then cut off little pieces to use for teeth. Excess up there, keep it out of the way. And again, I'm not too worried if it gets specks on it or something. These are monster teeth. They do not have to look pretty. Not really for sure how many I'm going to need here. And if I make extra and I don't use them on that, I can go ahead and still bake them and use them for my other monsters. All right, so that should be a good start. That's kind of what I'm going to go for on those, if you can see that. I'm just going to roll them out and set them on the paper here, and then once I get quite a few done, I'll start putting them in place and see how they look. And lots of times with clay, what's nice is you can, if you find something you don't like, you can redo it, but you kind of have to make that call on whether that, the amount of work it's going to take to redo it is worth it. Sometimes you kind of mess up what you have there if you have to take something off there. Hi, Jesse. Jesse says, "And the tooth shall set you free." Just a couple minutes ago, I was watching Jesse on the Make Eternia Great Again live stream on Facebook, but I didn't get to catch the end of it because I wanted to get ready for my live stream. Just getting a bunch of teeth made up. And to start like playing some music or something. So let me see what I can come up with these teeth. I'm thinking I might have enough here. And I'm not worried about covering the black up completely with them because I'm going to go ahead and put this pink down for the gums. Just wanted to have a color back there so at least would cover up the foil. I'm going to bring them in a little bit tighter. So I can get some more in there. Make sure he has a nice toothy grin. I'm like concentrating, so I'm trying to make sure I'm still chatting. All right. Anybody has any input on how they think that looks so far? Once I get all these placed, I'll bring it a little bit closer to the camera. So far, I'm happy with it. I really didn't end up with any extra. I got one extra there. I don't know if I should do a few more coming down the side. Alice says, "I think it's looking great." Thank you, Alice. I could do this and kind of have the skin pieces kind of ripped or whatever. So I'll do 1, 2, 3 more. I think that should work. So on these pieces, when I have them in a ball, I basically just roll down one side until I get a little bit of a point on there. And then as I lay it, I go ahead and kind of curve it around. And that one's a little bit bigger, but that's okay. I'm not worried about his teeth being any certain size. That one's getting away from me. And if I end up covering these up with the skin, that's fine. It'll still help the skin lay over it so you can even see the impression of the teeth on it. Now when I do some of these, if I'm not doing them on a live stream and I do them bigger, I'll probably like do this stage and then bake it. And that way everything on here is gonna stay. It's like some sculptors say it's like saving your progress. But even, you know, with this all being flat, it should be pretty easy to keep working on it this way. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring that up there. Make sure it doesn't fall off, but you can kind of see all his little teeth. So this is a mixture of white and pearl and red to give me for the pink for his gums. Brandy says looks awesome. Thank you, Brandy. And if I think this looks too colorful when it's done, I will at least do a black wash over, you know, like inside the mouth to dirty it up. I've done that with my Necronomicons. And even though they're all Warbler, the teeth is usually made out of polymer clay. So I think this should be enough for both sets of gums. I'm just going to stretch it out. Thin it out a little bit, and that way it'll rest over them. Of course, now I got it too long. And at this point, you know, I don't even know if the gums are going to be visible, but if he's going to be open some, so even if you look at different angles, he's going to look like a nice finished piece. So I want to get another little ball tool. I've got all kinds of different sizes ones here. Not for sure what's going to work best, but I want to go in and kind of push these gums down a little bit. Maybe I'll try this one that I had out. And so I'm just going in between the teeth and then putting a little bit of pressure and then going down a little farther at the tops of the gums there. And I'm also adding a little bit of a texture to it. So I think that'll add to whatever's visible. I have this idea of something I've wanted to do for years, and this goes back to me being a big video gamer. But a lot of, you know, hunters have those trophies in their house, and I thought it would be fun to do trophies of video game bosses. So I do the plaque and then sculpt like Bowser's head or something from Mario Brothers, or, you know, some dragon from, you know, like an RPG or something, you know, just different characters or different monsters and kind of mount them like that. And I thought that'd be kind of neat to do it. Brandy says yes. Alice says that's a cool idea. Thank you. I saw a guy on Etsy years ago, and he did that with like old Star Wars toys. He took like a Tauntaun and a Rancor and stuff. But to me, I think it's like the idea is better to do it with something too that like shows like the achievement of beating that game. I mean, his were cool. I mean, they're incredible work. I mean, the craftsmanship he did and putting everything together, it was a really, it was really well done. Just I'd like to take it a different direction and make it something that's connected to something you've actually done. Alright, just getting this lower gums attached, adding the texture, doing the indentions. I'll bring that up to the camera. So, alright, that's what I've got so far. Hala says, I wish I could make a Skyrim dragon. Yeah, a dragon would be cool. I've always liked the art style or the creature design of the characters in the monsters in Monster Hunter, but I've tried playing a couple different versions of that game and I really couldn't get into it. But I definitely love how they did the monsters. Jessica says, what is it? I'm late again. All right, Jessica, I'm going to give you I'm going to bring this up to the camera, let you know what's going on here. So I want to make some little wall hangings. This is actually smaller than what I had envisioned, but it's a good test piece. So I'm doing it similar to my magnets where it's going to be flat and then I sculpt over it. But I went a little bit thicker with it and I built it up with foil. So I rolled out some of my clay, which is like a beige and green. Did that for the backing. Added a little washer in the back so it has a place when you hang it on a nail, it doesn't like hit the clay. And then built it up and added like a layer of red. And then I've got black underneath the teeth. I did the teeth and the gums. And this is just kind of my own monster, but it's a test piece to do some wall art. And my main inspiration was, when you see people have like kind of different masks, either tribal masks or, some like those Oriental demon masks, something like that. But I don't want to make it a mask, I just want to make it the monster face. And later I might do some larger characters too. Jessica says, looks cool, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and do at least one eye. So these are all sticking together because one of them's magnetic. But I'm going to just work on the eye socket a little bit here. And then I'll decide if I want to give him another eye or if I just want to have that be an empty socket. And Jessica, I am going for something a little more serious, like a serious scary monster instead of a cute monster with this guy. Which I've done other scary monsters or, more serious ones. My Necronomicons are like that. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff I show on here is more the cute, cartoony type. So my mixture for the eye is some white and some pearl. I think a little bit of translucent. I've had some of these colors mixed up. I'll mix up a bunch of colors and section them off in my little storage container. I think that works. I don't have a lot of space here, but since he's not human, I can get away with having his proportions a little bit off than what we're used to. All right, so I think I can start adding the skin pieces. And I've already got one piece rolled out here. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this, what I want to start with. And I should probably just start from the bottom and maybe go up. So let's see what I can do here. I'm going to trim some of it off first. I'll probably have to trim it down a little bit more. Oh, maybe not. And I can give him a little bit of a lip if I need to. Or I might even kind of zigzag it here. Make it look more like torn skin. So it doesn't have these nice straight edges. Just trying to stretch that across there. I think he's definitely looking creepy. So now I'm going to go ahead and soften this up and make a piece to go across his upper lip area. Smooth that in a little bit. It's kind of my little piranha man. And then once I get this on, I'll build up his nose area and fill in the rest. And I can take my ball tool, this I can't really show you yet, but I can kind of smooth it in here so it pushes against that back piece that I did. And I can also drag this to add some textures to it. Alice says, reminds me of a snake. It's like one of those little, like a snake man type lizard guy. Killer Croc, that's what I'm thinking of, like Killer Croc from the Suicide Squad movie. I didn't mind the movie as much as everybody else, but I do not like that version of the Killer Croc. I love him from the animated series, and I feel like that one was an injustice. So this should work. I'll have to trim it down some, but cut off the top part here. I do want to bring this in a little bit. I don't want to like totally expose the teeth. I want to make it look like you're looking in. Make it look more layered. Tori says, this is so cool. Thank you. So I'm going to take this medium-sized ball tool and go in and smooth this new piece of clay on here. I'm going to have trouble with this name. Is it Agape? Looks awesome, Andrew. Thank you. Okay, go ahead and I'm going to bring this up a little bit, give it a little bit of a snarl. And then I'm going to trim it around the eye, but I am going to go in and add some eyelids to that eye. There. Now, let's see, I'm going to take this ball tool, work that in place. It's definitely been a fun little learning project tonight. I'm going to dig out where I want to have a little bit of a nose cavity area. Like I said, I didn't give myself enough space in between here to make him necessarily human-like. But it's going to work. Definitely work for my monster look. So this eye that's going to be missing, I still want to work the skin around it as if it was once there. And then I can go in with this ball tool, kind of indent around the mouth a little bit. Just add some very light indentions, and I'll just add a little bit of detail. And some of these, like little flecks of clay here, I can rub those off after it's baked. And I can even kind of smooth it out a little bit. You can even take sandpaper over it a little bit. The only thing I noticed with sandpaper is it kind of messes up the finish. And what usually helps to fix that is to give it a gloss coat. But I don't know if I necessarily want this guy glossy all over. I might gloss in his mouth, give him that wet mouth look. So I'm gonna add, I think in the middle for the nose area first. Then I'll build up the sides and then do the eyelids. So that should work like that. Mark it how I want the shape of the nose cavity area. So I'm just going to smooth this new piece in. Give it some details. And I can even kind of round it out a little bit. Go make it a little bit deeper in there. I do like that. I've got some black, I think, from when I took it out. Clean that one area out, so I'm gonna just set this aside. I'll use this little scrap of clay, mix it in with a blob or something. I don't ever try not to waste any clay. You can also use your extra clay for fillers if you need to build up a sculpture. So there's definitely no reason to waste anything. I have quite a big enough piece to do this side section of its head. Just add a little bit more there, softening it up. I'm going to spread this out a little bit so I can wrap it around. The top half of the head, I'm definitely going to do in a separate layer so that I can do some stitch work. want to make sure all that's covered, and I might do, oh, I got the black under there. I don't know. I want to do another piece that has some stitch work, but I'm not for sure where yet. And I could just cut into it and then add the stitches, because I don't want it to be just across his forehead. I am really happy how well this beige green skin mixture blends in with the pieces I already have there. I wasn't expecting that to be that smooth. I'll just add a little bit of texture to it. So get a little more of this mixture. And do this other side. Roll this out. Just flatten it enough so I can have it go up this side. Make a little bit of a point so it'll match into that area. I do want to cut off the excess here so I can do one piece up top. I think I'll do the same thing on this side. Pull that little section out. Doesn't look like it has too much transferred over. Anybody have any input? Should I leave this an empty socket or should I put an eyeball in there? Kind of on the fence. Just smoothing this piece of clay in, adding some texture. Empty socket gives it contrast. All right, I'll leave it like it is. I think it adds a little more creep factor to it, and then I'll definitely put gloss in that area to make it look wet after it's baked. So I do want to put a little bit of clay in here to represent, or at least to kind of cover where the skin would be. So I've got this piece here. I'm gonna cut off to make it match up. JP says, oh sweet, I was finally able to catch a stream. Welcome, thanks for stopping by. Just making a little monster face for a small wall hanging, trying out something a little bit new. Not 100% new, but I wanted to try out some different things with it, and I'm pretty happy with how this is working out, so I'll definitely do some other characters using this method. I'm able to bring this in too, and it kind of looks like he's kind of ticked off. Definitely not a happy monster. Round it out a little bit more. JP says it looks really cool. Thank you. Taking off a little bit there, so when I add that other piece, then I want to that other ball tool in here. So I think I'm happy then with how that one looks, unless I decide to add another piece of clay right here. Maybe I should build that up just a little bit. So I'm just going to took a little bit of piece of clay that I had cut off there, and I'm smoothing that in. Brought it up just a little farther than I thought it needed to be, so I'm rounding it back out. Didn't change it a lot, but I do think it helped get the shape of that eye socket. All right, so now I'm going to do some eyelids on his eye he has. So usually for these, what works really well for me is just take a piece of clay, roll it out flat, just think of your eyelid, and then you want it a little bit curved. And then this is going to be straight right now, but it's going to follow around that eyeball. Now that's a little too much because I want more of the eye showing, so I'm going to trim some of this off. And that's usually why when I do it, kind of just lay it on there to kind of see how it is before I, start smoothing it into place. So I think this will work. So I'm going to go ahead, this might work. It wants to go into the crevice too much there. So I want to smooth that out a little bit, but now I've got to smooth out my eyeball a little bit. I might just have to put a little more clay in there after I get this one laid down. I just think it needs a little bit in there. I just rolled out a small little snake of clay. Now I'm just going back over that with my ball tool, kind of dragging it back and forth so it attaches and smooths in with the rest there. JP says, I feel like I should already know this, LOL, but do you sketch out an initial design before you begin sculpting, or do you just use reference pics? It really depends on what it is. When I've started my new, like when I started out like the wonky weirdlings, and even way back when I was doing the blobs, I actually sketched them out. I've tried sketching out some kind of chibi characters, and then I've never really been happy with any of those. This guy, I didn't use a reference picture or anything. I just kind of made him. He's just kind of, just a combination of different monster features. There's characters like Groot. I've sculpted him so many times I don't use a reference picture. If I'm doing somebody totally new or I haven't done very often, like I did a Sonic the Hedgehog magnet, I found a reference picture online, printed it out, or I'll, use a tablet for a reference. So it really kind of varies. This guy, I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do with him. I just didn't know how it was all going to play out. Got a little speck of red on here that I want to try to get rid of. But pretty much everything besides Groot, if it's from pop culture, I'll use a reference picture. Just because I want to try to make it as accurate to the source material as possible, or at least in design. JP says, oh, okay, I'm not really into sculpting. I'm more of an illustrator, so I was just wondering. Yeah, no. I often, I like to find out more even on different art that even if it's something I don't do. It's just interesting, the whole creation process. So this eyelid here, I went ahead and brought it in a little bit to kind of give him that evil, angry eye. And I will want to fill in some gaps here. Just going to add a little bit of a texture with my ball tool. That'll kind of smooth out, so I won't need to add too much more clay there. Just going to take a little piece of clay there, smooth that in with the ball tool. And do the same thing at this little gap here. And then I'll go ahead and bring him up to the camera so you can kind of see where he's at. I have distorted the eyeball a little bit, but I think it's still going to work fine. All right. So that's where I'm at right now with this guy. I'm going to go ahead and roll out a piece of the green and beige clay for his forehead. Then I'll add the forehead detail and the stitching and then decide if I want to mess with anything else. It's really going to have more of him exposed like a zombie than I did, but JP says it looks really good. Thank you. Just softening up a little bit. And I'll kind of roll it out into a half circle. And unlike the other clay, I am not going to smooth it in because I want it to have that separation line on his forehead. See if I have enough here. I'm going to add just a little bit more, and it's easier to trim it off than try to stretch it out more. As I'm doing this, I'm noticing like little things I want to kind of adjust on it. It's kind of how I sculpt. Let's get this softened up.
That's the...
I'll just get this in the basic shape for the forehead. So that should lay over there nicely. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off so I have that nice line there. Didn't quite get it cut all the way through here. All right, and then I just want to smooth this a little bit. I don't want it to be too smooth. Like I said, I want it to look like a separate piece. And I'm okay having a gap with the red underneath, that's why I did that. will probably even out this a little bit. So I'm trying to see what I need to do for that. All right. Go ahead and give him some lines in his forehead. Just go through, give him this kind of a rough texture to it. Try to tuck this in a little bit. Just going to add some details, and then I will do the indentions for the stitching. I just want to add a little texture to his lip area. I'm just using my needle tool to just kind of press gently against the area of his lips. Making sure I don't go too far so I don't hit his teeth. Bring that up. So that's what I've got so far. All right, let's see how I want to do this. So I can save this for like a Frankenstein's monster or a zombie or something. My little scraps I'm not going to use for anything except for a blob. And find myself a different ball tool in my tools over here. So yep, this one's a little bit smaller. I'm just indenting these in, making little holes for the stitching. Not for sure how well this is going to go. Sometimes it's a little tricky to line those up. Alright, so now I want to take some black clay, roll it out into a snake. Now I want to get these really thin. And you get to a point where it's too thin, so it's kind of that fine line, plus you want to be able to work with it. And they're going to be relatively short. And I'm going to roll them out a little bit more so they have kind of pointed ends. And then I can use a tool to kind of tuck those in. I didn't count how many I need, so I'll just do a bunch and go from there. give it a little bit of a roll, and it kind of smooths it out. Usually it works best to pick these up with the needle tool, and these are going to be too short. I'll see if I can roll it out a little bit more. All right. Watch, these are going to be too long. We'll start with this one. So I just inserted in, so I want it to look like it's been stitched. And then I just tucked it in there. And I could crisscross them, and I might do that with some. And I'll do that here. See, it already fell off my needle tool early. You know this guy was not done by a professional seamstress or an actual doctor. There was some evil things going on here. These guys are tricky. There we go. So usually once I get that one of the tips in there, I can kind of hold it with my finger and then get the next one in with the tip of the needle tool. Yep, I kind of stabbed that one a little too hard. I kind of stopped talking for a little bit because I'm really trying to focus on this. I don't think I have enough clay on that little section. So I've got these sticking all over here. I'm going to do a few straight lines and I'll cross over again. Just to kind of keep it random. What I can do is take this one's kind of sticking up a little bit, and take that ball tool to kind of push it in place there. Hey Delaney, how are you? Making a little monster face for like a small wall hanging. It's kind of a test little project here. Just working on the stitches. Taking a lot of focus. Delaney says, good, just got off work all 7 days this week. Nice, I guess. Unless you really didn't want to. You guys are definitely staying busy. Making this one a little bit longer because I'm going to do that crisscross effect here. This is not cooperating. As you notice, you just keep trying, because once it's done and in there, I don't have to worry about it. Lainey says it looks really cool. Thank you. I just had a general idea of what I wanted to do going into this, so I wasn't worried about doing a certain character. Kind of I had a Baraka, Frankenstein, you know, zombie type look to it. Which I don't know, maybe some people consider Frankenstein a zombie, but he's not just one reanimated corpse, he's a multiple. I think in D&D they would call him like a flesh golem. Alright, need to get some more little stitches rolled out. Yep, that one's still a little short. Of course now it's a little bit long, but I think I can just kind of loop it and it'll look like it's just a little bit looser. Which actually works because this part's kind of opened up, so it would make sense that there's some give to it. And what's nice about these little stitches, even though they're thin, they would be fragile. Since they're up against the sculpture, they should be fine after he's baked. Shouldn't have to worry about anything breaking off of him. And hopefully, you know, like if I do stuff like this as a wall hanging, it's not going to get much handling. But you still want to make sure that it's as durable as possible. Let's see here. JP says, okay, I think I'm out of here. It's kind of late where I'm at, but I'm glad I could hang out for a while. Well, thanks for stopping by, JP. I do appreciate it. Yeah, this is just kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. If you're on, or if you're available to be on Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll do my Let's Make a Monster live stream. And that's more, has more audience involvement. I don't know if you've been on one of those or not before, but definitely check that out if it works for you. You have a good night. I appreciate you stopping by. JP says, I might be. Awesome. You have a good night too. Thank you. All right. This little step's taking a while, guys. The issue with doing things on live streams is you run into something like this and you can't really rush it. So I think these little pieces here, I'm just going to kind of put with that black and do some a little bit larger pieces for these last few. I think I'm ready to have it crisscross again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we should be good there, unless I mess something up. Just rolling them out a little bit just to, you know, smooth out those edges where I cut it. Oh, that didn't even pick up. That one's not quite long enough, surprisingly. So let's see here if I can tuck this end in. I'm going to pull it down a little bit. A lot of times too, you've got to think, okay, so right now gravity's not pulling that down, but visually when he'd be upright, that would pull that a little bit. So I wanted to go ahead and give that just a slight nudge to have that sense of realism with it. All right. This one might be a little long, but nope, not really. Let's see if I can get it to go in how I want. Got one end in. That one barely reached once it was all done, but I think it's right there. It can look like it's even pulling out of it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get these last three done. Well, and then I'll bring it up to the camera and you guys can let me know if it needs anything else. Well, somehow I have an extra piece now. What did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Must have cut one of them off or something. Get this last stitch in here. Come on. All right, and I'm just patting them down, make sure they're all going to stay in there. So, bring that up. There's my little monster face. You can smooth that eye out. It's just bothering me just enough. And I can take a Q-tip with some rubbing alcohol and clean that up. I don't have that ready, so I might do that right after I'm done, just so you guys are aware. But is there anything else you guys think this guy needs? Anything you feel like he's missing? I'm gonna kind of look over him, look at his texture. All right. Everybody's pretty quiet tonight. Just gonna do some little bit deeper indentions, just to have a little bit of variety to it. I do like his snarl. Even bring that up a little bit more with the ball tool. Have it start more in the middle. Round that out there. I'm just going to do like a little cut, not necessarily one that has stitches in it, just kind of a little scratch on his head. I just feel like there's too much emptiness up here. All right, just rounding that. So I think this guy is done. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's live stream. I might do one tomorrow. I'm not for sure what time if I do, so make sure you turn the notification bell on. Sometimes that helps. Otherwise, hopefully I see all of you on Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time for my Let's Make a Monster live stream. Well, I hope everybody has a good and safe night, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Remember, never stop creating. Bye.